Ender Magnolia is the next game in the series and continues the kind of quasi-Soulsavania style. And while it may not be as fresh as the first game, it's still a very solid take and one certainly for the fans to hack and slash and jump their way through. Ender Magnolia takes place sometime in the future compared to the first game. We're in a new city where technology and magic coexist, and beings known as homunculus or homunculi are used for day-to-day life, fighting, and so on. But much like our first game, something has gone horribly wrong, and the city is now enveloped in a mysterious blight that's causing the homunculus to go rabid or mutant and start killing everyone. And once again, it's up to a lone girl who has amnesia in order to save the day and fight her way across the land. Now, the basic gameplay from Ender Lilies remains intact. This is a Metroidvania with a heavy emphasis on combat. You'll create a build of attacks based on the different homunculi that you find and recruit. Now, there are fewer homunculi in this one compared to the spirits you get access to in the first game. To compensate, each homunculus gets basically 3 variants of their attack. So your starting one can go for like a normal sword swing, a heavy kind of like hammer swing, and so on. And you can equip up to 4 at a time, and this is essentially going to be your play style throughout the game. Now there are kind of universal homunculi that give you new movement tech and ways of getting around, and these are your Metroidvania upgrades. And they of course will not be upgraded or anything like that. The combat remains very fast and fluid. One of the bigger changes compared to the first game is that you now have a universal parry, where in the first game, the parry was tied to a specific spirit. You also get a kind of parry homunculus in this one, who became my kind of BFF and MVP as we went through the entire game. At a certain point, you'll get access to carapaces, which are a new gear type. Each carapace kind of functions along with it's kind of like a pulse parry. And when you trigger the pulse parry and if it works, the carapace will respond and do some kind of effect. But with this parry now being accessible for everyone, it does help a lot with the difficulty of the game. Because you have enemies that have like homing attacks or those that are very hard to dodge, now that you have access to a parry at all times, it does make things a lot easier in that respect. Also, like the first one, the map now updates dynamically once you find everything in a given area. And this is a very big deal because the space here is quite massive, as you'll go through 3 stratums of the city, trying to find side quests, collectibles, power-ups, and of course, where the heck you're supposed to be going. If you're hoping for like brand new elements of the formula beyond that, I didn't really see too much here with Ender Magnolia. Difficulty speaking, I think this one is easier than the first game. A lot of it is thanks to the improvements of having your own parry, as well as the general power of the homunculus. There are, I would say, fewer annoying bosses in this one. I think the only boss that gave me some trouble was this giant robot that occurred about like 70 to 75% of the way through. Even the final boss, or should I say the true final boss, was far simpler to fight compared to the first one. As an interesting point for those of you who do want that challenge, the game allows you to tweak the different attributes of the game to like easy, medium, and hard, or just bump everything up to the highest and go for it. We played this one on hard, and I do shudder to think about how punishing this will be if you go full super nightmare difficulty. Now with that said, I do have a few issues and a few nitpicks. The level design and pacing, because you have universal fast travel to any kind of bench/rest point, it means the developers didn't really have to do too much in terms of guidance. But this does come back to bite you in the middle to back half of the game when you're trying to figure out where you're supposed to be going, as there are very few notes or anything that kind of pushes you in the right direction. This is one of those titles where that one path, that one door that you missed, could have led to the completely required area you're supposed to go to next. There's also one part that, while I was playing the game, I looked this up on the Steam forums, that there's a section that you're supposed to return to after a specific trigger. but the game didn't really seem to mention anything about that trigger or the hint. And it's one of those kinds of blink it or you'll miss it moments which could lead to you getting completely lost. As another point about that, perhaps one of the more weirder aspects I noticed about the kind of general gameplay has to do with the blight itself. The blight kind of operates as the quasi-poison water that we see in a lot of Metroidvania and action-adventure games. When you're in it, you take 10% of your health every tick, which I believe the ticks are a second to a second and a half. Now, normally in games like this, you would be conditioned to come back to one of these areas with an upgrade or something to mitigate the damage. Not here. There is no mitigation to the blight. You can put on better healing equipment that gives you more heal for each one of your heal charges. But there are sections where you have to just swim through almost 30 seconds to a minute's worth of water, and there's nothing to do about it other than hopefully have enough healing or healing capacity to get past it. And it's a very weird issue for a game like this, because if you don't know you are supposed to be swimming in the poison water, you can lead to missing required elements. And I'm surprised there wasn't anything about mitigating that. As another point, this one's more of a nitpick than anything else. I was surprised that despite having some very beautiful musical arrangements and songs, there's no vocals during the cutscene, no voice acting whatsoever. So it's a kind of awkward. You're seeing these very emotionally dramatic scenes, things are happening, music's making you sad, and you're just reading dialogue at the bottom of the screen. Not a huge issue, just more of a nitpick. All in all, Ender Magnolia is an improved version of Ender Lilies. If you enjoy the first game, I think you'll enjoy this one. If you're hoping for them to kind of double down on the difficulty and the challenge, Ender Magnolia doesn't do that. It's more balanced in that respect. Other than, again, of course, you going for the super highest sliders all the way through. I still enjoy this one. We went through it all the way to the true ending. I would like to, see a little bit more variety of the different homunculus abilities or homunculi powers. Once I kind of got my build down, and there was one in particular that was just flat out game breaking once I got them, I didn't really need to change or tweak anything else. And the gear is still very basic in that regard. You'll get kind of a progressively more powerful bracelets, but there's not really any change there. The other new inclusion are totems, which provide you with a special bonus for equipping them. And this is, I think, as far as the game goes in terms of giving you more variety in that respect. And of course, all the different artifacts and passive buffs are back. Now, you can upgrade these, and once again, once you get your build with all the right artifacts, totems, homunculi going, you're pretty much set for the game. And of course, I do want to compliment the game for its art style. Everything looks gorgeous, even the more disturbing enemies and sights that you find. So with everything said, if you're in the mood for another combat-focused Metroidvania, and you either enjoyed the first game, or you missed out and want to see what everyone was talking about, then definitely give Ender Magnolia a play. This was checked out with a press key provided by a developer. If in particular your game in the future doesn't involve Souls-likes, Vanias, or any mix and combination of the two, please reach out. If you did play this one as well, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. And with that, I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.